Movie Shorts Hub presents The Moon Man and the Kangaroo, a cinematic sci-fi survival saga with emotion, humor, betrayal, and redemption, told through the eyes of the last man on the moon and the only kangaroo left in the universe. Part 1, The Last Mission. The world had just taken a breath of relief. After decades of fear, the asteroid known as Pi, far more massive than the one that wiped out the dinosaurs, was finally diverted. Earth had survived. But the cost of that survival was unimaginable. High above Earth's atmosphere, tucked on the edge of space, was the moon's outer defense base, an artificial lunar station constructed for one purpose: to protect humanity from cosmic extinction. It was the crown jewel of human engineering, loaded with advanced weapons, gravitational redirectors, and humanity's last hopes. And on board was a man named Yue. For 8 years, Yue and his crew had worked tirelessly to see this mission succeed. And now, as the mission concluded, it was finally time to go home. But not for you. Before boarding the return rocket, Yue wanted to do something deeply personal. He wanted to confess his love to Commander Jing, the strong, silent, brilliant woman who had led them through this impossible mission. While the crew prepared for launch, Yue returned to his quarters, headphones in, music playing, and heart pounding. He began drafting a heartfelt letter, word by word. That's when everything went wrong. Unbeknownst to Yue, a final glitch in their weapon systems had failed to account for the asteroid's residual debris. The shattered remains of Pi were now hurtling straight toward the moon. Commander Jing received the emergency intel. They had just 30 minutes before impact. There was no time for farewells. She gave the order: evacuate immediately. Panic spread through the station like wildfire. Astronauts sprinted to escape pods. Rockets began launching one after another. But Yue, lost in his world of music and love letters, heard nothing. By the time he realized something was wrong, he dashed toward the launch bay, only to see the final rockets soaring into the stars. Only one ship remained. Desperate, Yue jumped into his rover and sped across the moon's surface, only to crash into a crater and lose consciousness. When he woke up, the last rocket was gone. The debris rained down. One massive chunk slammed into the surface nearby, hurling him into darkness. Part 2. A man left behind. Yue awoke hours later, bruised, dazed, but alive. He scrambled to connect with Earth, confident that help would come. It never did. Because Earth was gone. Another large piece of Pi had hit the planet. The resulting cataclysm swallowed continents. The human race was devastated. Governments collapsed. Oceans rose. Cities fell into silence. Only a few underground stations, led by surviving officials, remained operational. Yue's distress signals reached no one. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Yue accepted the truth. He was truly alone. For 6 long months, he roamed the station. He explored every module, made checklists of supplies, and even tried surfing across the moon's low-gravity terrain using broken solar panels. His mind began to fray, his spirit tested by crushing isolation. Yet amid the despair, Yi clung to tiny wishes, to one day open Jing's locked room, to write songs, to surf again, to laugh even if no one else was around. Then one day, everything changed. Cache Part 3. Kang arrives on day 196. Wei entered a storage unit to retrieve medicine and spotted something strange. At first he thought it was a woman. Then it moved, hopped, a kangaroo, real, alive, on the moon. Before he could react, a camera activated, broadcasting the moment live. Back on Earth, one of the surviving lunar communication centers had been covertly monitoring Wei all along, turning his life into a hidden reality show for the rest of humanity. In a surreal twist, their voice actor mistakenly dubbed the kangaroo instead of Yue, making the broadcast even more absurd and viral. What followed was chaos, hilarity, and a confession. The kangaroo, named Kang, had been left behind during a previous experiment, and Yue's dubbed voice was not by a professional. He was an influencer named Flutist. As global attention skyrocketed, the Earth Command, led by Chairman Lassie and Commander Jing, made a shocking decision. They would let unknowingly become a symbol of hope. A man who kept living, even after losing everything. But Wei, he was falling apart inside. To cheer himself up, he dressed like a female kangaroo just to bond with Kang, and got hilariously beaten up for it. Yet in all that madness, a friendship began to form between 2 unlikely survivors, one man and one marsupial, clinging to life on a barren rock 384,000 kilometers from home. Part 4. the impossible journey. Then came a revelation. An old lunar module, Apollo 18, still abandoned on the far side of the moon. It might be their only ticket back to Earth, but there was a problem. Its engine was missing. You had to retrieve a prototype solar-powered weapon from a distant outpost and install it as a makeshift engine. The mission was nearly impossible. The sun was setting. 1 lunar night equals 14 Earth days. Temperatures would drop to minus 170 Celsius. So UA made a wild plan. He would chase the sunlight. With Kang tied to his rover and time running out, Yui surfed the moon's terrain, dodged craters, and battled exhaustion for 41 continuous days. Along the way, he risked everything, even Kang's life. At one point, he had to leave Kang behind to keep moving, but just as he reached the point of no return, Wei turned back, risking death in the cold shadows to rescue his friend. Their bond, forged in silence and survival, had grown stronger than steel. Part 5. Power, Failure, and the Sled Ride to Hope. Exhausted, frostbitten, and barely conscious, Yu and Kang finally reached the prototype engine. Kang, being Kang, started mashing buttons in excitement. Thankfully, he only triggered a diagnostics mode. Wei, half laughing and half furious, locked him in the engine bay just to avoid any more accidents. They started the return journey, but disaster struck. The compartment holding Kang detached mid-journey. Wei had a choice: chase the sun and survive, or go back for Kang and risk it all. Everyone watching from Earth thought he'd abandoned the kangaroo. Even Commander Jing looked away in disappointment, but Yu slammed on the brakes and turned back. He found Kang curled up and scared, and they set off again, shoulder to shoulder, tied by rope, powered by faith and determination. But fate wasn't done testing them. They were still 55 kilometers from the base when their rover's battery finally died. The solar-powered lunar dog, a robotic rescue unit, was their last hope, but it too fell into a crater and shut down. That night, under a star-filled sky, Wei and Kang lay next to each other, whispering to the silence of the moon. Wei reminisced about Commander Jing, the woman who stole his heart, and the life he might have had. It felt like the end. Then, Kang started chasing a glint on the moon's surface, a reflection from a broken solar panel. Wei had an idea. He strapped a sled to Kang's back, used his old surfing gear, and launched forward like a madman, sled surfing across the moon's frozen plains, adrenaline and desperation fueling every second. To jump a massive crater, he used nitrogen tanks as boosters and soared into the air like a comet. The world watching erupted. Tears, cheers, a flicker of joy in an otherwise broken Earth. Part 6. A spark in the darkness. Wei's act of survival turned him into a global symbol. A hero without an audience finally had one. Chairman Lassie declared him the Moon Man, the very embodiment of hope, grit, and human spirit. Billions tuned in to follow his journey. Brands used his image. Politicians quoted him. Children dreamed of him. But the truth? You didn't even know anyone was watching. Until, one night, devastated by the silence, he prepared to remove his helmet and end it all. And then, he saw it. A beam of light from Earth flashing toward him. Billions of phones pointed at the sky, their flashlights blinking in unison, signaling one man on the moon. Wei collapsed in tears. He raced back to the station, activated his comms, and finally heard a voice. Jing. Her voice. The world. Alive. Confessions in the void. As communication stabilized, Wu saw what the world had seen. His story, his suffering, his friendship with Kang, his failures and his triumphs, all live-streamed. And amid this revelation came something even deeper. Jing confessed she had seen Wei running toward the launch bay on that fateful day, but she couldn't wait. Protocol had forced her to leave. Yu told her the truth. He had only joined the maintenance crew because of her. Love had brought him to the stars, and now he didn't regret a second of it. The entire Earth listened as two hearts finally found each other across space. Part 8. Earth's Final Threat. But peace never lasts long in stories like these. Scanners picked up a massive object, a giant chunk of pie, still alive, still moving, and heading straight for Earth. Only one ship had an engine powerful enough to intercept it, Wei's spacecraft, but its weapon system had no autonomous guidance. Someone had to fly the ship directly into the asteroid and manually activate the missile detachment. That someone was Yui. He had a choice, live for love or die for everyone. With trembling hands, Wei strapped Kang into a return pod. But Kang fought back. He wouldn't leave his friend behind. Wei smiled. You stubborn fluffball. Then he launched into space, missiles armed, ship shaking, asteroid looming larger every second. From Earth, Jing screamed not to go. We told her gently, I don't want you to wait for me. Move on. Be happy. I've done what I was meant to do. Part 9, Between Earth and Oblivion. As the ship approached the asteroid, Jing tried to activate the missiles, but it failed. Her mind filled with every moment shared with Uwe, every laugh, every quiet whisper. But Uwe's voice echoed in her headset. Open quote. Jing, press the button. Save them. Close quote. With tear-streaked cheeks, she obeyed. The explosion lit up the sky. The asteroid shattered. The Earth was saved. The pieces of pie scattered into space like a meteor shower, streaking the night with light. People called it the starfall of hope. Kang, floating in orbit, watched the spectacle. On Earth, a young boy pointed to the glowing debris and whispered to his sister, That's the Moon Man. He saved us. Part 10, The Ring of Memory. 10 years passed. Earth was reborn, rebuilt from ashes and ruins. Humanity remembered the Moon Man every day. The debris of the exploded asteroid now formed a glowing ring around Earth, just like Saturn, a ring of remembrance. Commander Jing, now a top official, stepped onto the moon once again. As she walked across the lunar surface, she smiled at the old base, at the memories, at the footprints still pressed into the dust. She looked up at the Earth and whispered, He never left us. And beside her, Kang, older, grayer, but still hopping with joy, stood silently, eyes reflecting the stars. The end. Or maybe the beginning of something even greater. Would you like a 5K character? Ambient piano or subtle emotional strings? So here we are, at the very edge of this journey. A journey that started in silence, in distance, on the surface of the moon, but somehow ended deep in our hearts. Because this story wasn't really just about space, or survival, or strange creatures, or hidden broadcasts. It was about something much more real. It was about loneliness and how we fight it. It was about hope and how fragile it is, yet how bright it burns. It was about connection, even in a world that feels completely disconnected. You didn't ask to be a hero. He didn't sign up to carry the burden of Earth's final hope. He didn't wear a cape. He didn't give a speech. He just kept going, one day at a time, one broadcast at a time, one heartbreak at a time. And maybe that's the lesson here. Maybe the true strength is not found in big explosions or flashy endings, but in the quiet, consistent effort to keep breathing, to keep feeling, to keep believing, even when there's nothing left to believe in. Wu stood on the moon, but every time he looked at Earth, he was looking at you, at all of us. And in those moments, he wasn't a character. He was a mirror for the part of us that still longs for connection. That still believes someone somewhere is listening, that still sends signals into the void, hoping, praying, someone will answer back. Maybe you're watching this at midnight, headphones on, lights off, alone. Maybe you felt like we before, trapped in silence, distant, forgotten. If that's you, I want you to know something. You're not alone. We see you, we hear you, and we built this space for you. This channel, this video, this story, it's not just content, it's not just animation, it's connection. We're building something different here, something real, and you're a part of that. So if this story touched your heart, if it made you feel something, if it reminded you of your humanity, then do us a favor, leave a comment. Tell us what part hit you the hardest, what made you cry, what made you pause, what made you reflect. Tap that like button. Not for the algorithm, but for the meaning. To say, yes, I felt this too. Share this story with someone who needs it. Maybe they're going through something. Maybe they've forgotten how to feel. Maybe they just need to remember that they matter. And of course, subscribe. Not just to this channel, but to this feeling. This world we're building together, where stories don't just entertain, they stay with you. They transform you. Let's be honest. There's so much noise online, so many voices, so many distractions, so many videos, clips, loops, trends. But here we slow down, we feel, we take our time, we walk through the emotion, because life is short. But feelings stay. And if you stayed with us all the way to the end of this journey, thank you. You didn't just watch a video. You became part of something sacred. A quiet rebellion against indifference. A reminder that stories still matter, that you still matter. Maybe you didn't cry. Maybe you did. Maybe you watched with someone you love. Or maybe you watched it in silence like Uy, hoping someone somewhere might understand. And we do. This is Movie Shorts Hub. We don't chase views, we chase truth. We don't chase trends, we chase meaning. We create because we believe that every story, whether it's about a lonely man on the moon or a creature with glowing eyes in the dark, is really about us, about how we break and heal and rise again. So here's what we'll leave you with. If you ever feel alone, replay this story. If you ever feel lost, come back to this moment. If you ever forget who you are, remember Ul. Remember that even in a vast, silent galaxy, there was one voice, one heartbeat, one story that kept on beating, just like yours. We'll be back soon with more stories, more journeys, more meaning, more moments that will make you pause, breathe, and feel. But until then, take care of your heart, take care of your people, take care of your light, because this world, this real, fragile, beautiful world we live in, it needs you, and we're just getting started. This is Movie Shorts Hub, where emotion meets imagination, where pixels become poetry, where every frame has a heartbeat, and every viewer becomes family. So until the next story, keep dreaming, keep searching, keep sending your light into the void, because someone out there, someone like Uy, is waiting to see it. And when they do, they'll know they're not alone, and neither are you. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again soon. And remember, the moon always looks smaller until you stand on it.